Hey folk, welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to be playing Would You Rather Doll Edition, which is such a fun concept for a video, but I cannot take credit for it. I first saw this on Broken Dolly TV's channel. It was actually like just a random video that was suggested for me, so it was how I discovered the channel, and I'm super excited about it because I really enjoy their videos, so like definitely go subscribe to them. I will link their video and also tag them down below, but they did technically it's more of like a Barbie collector Would You Rather, but like generally speaking, I think it also applies to doll collectors as a whole. So a doll Would You Rather, and they encourage everyone to use the questions that they had and to make their own like posts or videos or responses in the comments. So that is what we're doing today. We're going to be doing my video version of the Would You Rather, and I'm really excited because some of these are very hard questions. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of Would You Rather. I think there are 15 to get through. Hi, Miss Reese. You're right. That is a big number. She's such an angel. She's been joining me so often lately, and I love it. But yeah, 15 questions to get through. So let's go ahead and get started because this is going to be a lot. I did almost forget to say this should just be a given, obviously, but like these are just going to be my opinions. If you would answer these questions differently, that's totally fine. Feel free to leave your responses in the comments down below, but like don't take offense if I answer a question differently than you would. So first question is, would you rather have unlimited space for your Barbie collection but a limited budget, or an unlimited budget but barely have any storage space? This is an easy question for me. I would absolutely rather have unlimited space and a limited budget. As fun as it is to think about the super expensive dolls that I could buy if I had the reverse, if I had an unlimited budget and just like a little bit of storage space, I cannot. I can't. Storage space is so important to me. It's part of why I'm so grateful to have the basement here as my doll room, because there's like a lot of space for me to enjoy my collection and display my collection and like expand it. And for me, I know there are some people who can like rotate out their collection where they have a lot of their dolls in storage and they sort of just switch up their displays every so often so that they can enjoy all of their dolls, and it's kind of just rotated like that. If that's how you love to collect, that's super. Like that's obviously fine as long as you're happy. I just cannot be happy that way. Like I need to be able to see as many of my dolls as possible at any given point in time. So like as much as I obviously crave an unlimited budget, I just think the idea of being able to buy all these dolls that I desperately want and then not being able to see them all at the same time would drive me loopy. Whereas having an unlimited storage space and a limited budget, I already exist on a limited budget. So like I'm practiced at that. I know how to do that. And it would be really cool to just like not be worried about where I'm going to put dolls. So that one, that was pretty easy for me to answer. That was like right off, like no way I would pick the unlimited budget. Question number 2 is also pretty easy for me. It's, would you rather only collect dolls that are brand new in box or only collect secondhand dolls with unknown history? And I would rather only collect dolls that are brand new in box. I feel like that still does include if you're buying secondhand dolls that are like never opened, right? Because like at that point, it's secondhand, but it also is technically brand new in box. I'm assuming that that still counts. Just that makes sense to me. Even if it doesn't, though, I think I would rather only buy dolls that are brand new in box, just because, like, this is another thing that I feel is a little bit odd, maybe, with like my collecting habits. Is I know that like you can get really great deals on dolls by like buying them at the thrift incomplete or buying them online incomplete and like hunting down the accessories. And for some people, that's how they like to do it. Like for some people, that's super fun and exciting. And like that's part of the joy of collecting, is like when you finally manage to get that last piece for a doll. I just can't. I just hate it so much. If I ever have a doll that is incomplete, I need to fix that ASAP. I just don't like the way that it feels. So generally speaking, whenever I buy secondhand anyway, I tend to buy most of my secondhand dolls online. But even when I have like gone to local toy shops, I almost never buy dolls that are incomplete. Like I really try to buy them, even if they're loose, that are complete. So for me, it's so much less of a hassle and so much less anxiety inducing to only be able to buy dolls that are brand new in box. If that includes secondhand new in box, that's even better, obviously, because then I can like get my old favorites. And again, I like to do that, even though it is pretty often significantly more expensive. It's just kind of makes me feel better to know that all of the pieces are definitely going to be there. And then even if I couldn't ever buy like any secondhand dolls, that hurts my heart. That would be a really hard loss, but I would still get to buy all of like the new dolls that are coming out. Whereas if I could only buy secondhand dolls with an unknown history, that means that I wouldn't ever be able to, like, whenever a new Monster High G3 doll comes out, I wouldn't be able to buy it on the shelf. I'd have to wait for it to pop up in secondhand places. And that just seems worse to me. So this is another one that I think was pretty easy for me to answer. Okay, number three, I am going to amend a little bit. You'll see why in a second. So the question as it's written, because again, this is a list targeted at Barbie collectors, is would you rather have to sell your entire current collection and start over, or never be able to buy another Barbie again? And so the amending that I'm doing is actually making it harder, because if I was never able to buy another Barbie again, I could still enjoy, like, if Rainbow High comes out with any more nice dolls, or I could enjoy Monster High. Like, there are other brands that I can enjoy, right? So I feel like, in the spirit of the question being a truly difficult would you rather, I need this to be, I either have to sell the entire collection and like start completely over, or this is all I can ever have ever. Like, I can never buy another doll. And that makes it a lot harder, but I do think that's kind of the point of would you rather. And at that point, oh gosh. This is like so difficult. I made it more difficult for myself. I think I would end up selling my collection and starting over. And like, this sounds dramatic. I know. I'm sorry. I'm kind of a dramatic person. But like, a lot of my dolls do have a lot of sentimental value to me. So like, the thought of doing that makes me want to cry genuinely. But the idea of never being able to collect like any other dolls ever, that's so that's worse. Like, it would break my heart to lose my entire collection, but I could at least buy back the ones that like are the most meaningful to me, even if they're not my original. Like, they would still have some of that nostalgia. But like, I'm about to turn 28. That's, like, I feel myself aging, but also that's relatively youthful in terms of like the lifespan that we expect to have. And the idea of having to go like 40, 50, 60 years with without ever buying a doll again, like, I'd have to just stop collecting. I don't think I could do it. So it would tear me apart, but I think I would have to start over, and then I would be able to like at least enjoy the rebuilding of my collection. Ugh, ew. Number four, I hate both options. So this one is, would you rather only be allowed to collect dolls with stiff bodies, or only be allowed to collect dolls missing their original outfits? Y'all know I'm a little bit of an articulation snob. If I like a doll enough, I can handle limited articulation, but like, I would always prefer a doll to have more articulation. But on the flip side, only collecting dolls that don't have their original outfit. This kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier about buying secondhand dolls with an unknown origin, and how I don't like to have to piece together dolls for my collection. Like, it's just kind of stressful for me. So I think I would have to go only collecting stiff bodies, which like would definitely suck. I would miss my wrist joints on my dolls, making them have little like sassy hands. But I think that I would be able to cope with that easier than having to track down outfits for literally every single doll I buy ever. So that's what we're going to go with. Number five, I think, is like pretty easy for me. It's, would you rather give up buying dolls for a whole year, or give up restyling slash customizing dolls for a whole year? And I already am so violently like behind on what I need to be restyling and customizing. Like, I already am really bad about keeping up with that. So low key, I don't feel like it would be super hard for me to just not restyle dolls for a year. I just put them in a nice little pile, and then that would be future me's problem. Whereas like, I've done a no buy month in the past, and that did go like better than I expected. I thought I would have a lot more anxiety than I actually did. And like, it was super chill, which was a pleasant surprise. But the idea of not buying dolls for a year, I think what trips me up is like, playline dolls is one thing, because those stick around for a while, and like they might go on sale even, so I might be able to get them for a better price, or like they're not like super hard necessarily to find secondhand. But like, what if a super cool Monster High collector doll drops and then sells out in 5 minutes, and I can't get them because I can't buy any dolls that year? Like, even when I did my no buy month, I made an exception for that. It didn't end up being the case that any collector doll dropped, but I did have that as like a stipulation in my sort of rules for myself when I did my no buy month, was that if a collector doll dropped that I really, really wanted, I wasn't going to like force myself to not get it to adhere to the no buy, just because I think that's such a different situation. So yeah, this is pretty simple. I would just not restyle or customize anything, and that would just be something that I would tackle in the future. Number six is very interesting. Would you rather own an ultra rare Barbie prototype that nobody knows exists, or own a mass produced Barbie that is your personal holy grail? And this, I think, really speaks to maybe like the things that you value most in a collection, because there are people who really like to collect things that are sort of moments in history, might be a good way to put it, especially it being a prototype. Like, that's not necessarily something that you're buying for the aesthetic. Like it might be really pretty too. I'm not trying to say that all prototypes are ugly, obviously, but I feel like you buy a prototype less because of how pretty it is and more because of the fact that it's a prototype and it's like a piece of the process of creating a doll and it's like a part of doll history. It's sort of like a different vibe than just buying a doll off of a shelf, right? And I'm not really a prototype person. Obviously, if you are, that's super duper. I hope you can get as many as you'd like. But like, it just doesn't really matter to me. Like, I am very much someone who collects for the aesthetics rather than like necessarily the history of a doll. And like, I don't need anything. I think prototypes to me almost feel like something that would be in like a museum. Like if your collection feels more like a museum of Barbie history, for example, since this is more targeted towards Barbie collectors. And I just like that doesn't, I think it's really cool to see in other people's collections, but I have no desire to own them for myself, if that makes sense. Like I love watching people like get prototypes and unbox them in the mail and like show off their prototype collections. I just don't need those. Whereas like a holy grail for myself, absolutely. Because that's like an aesthetic doll that I really, really want. I don't even know what it would be off the top of my head, but like I would much rather have a personal Holy Grail versus like a prototype, even if it's like a super rare one of a kind. But I could absolutely understand why other people would feel differently if that sort of collecting is more what draws you in or like something that you would like to prioritize. Number 7 is another super, super easy one. I don't even have to think about this. It's would you rather unbox and restyle a vintage collector Barbie or keep a Playline Barbie in box forever? And I would unbox that vintage Barbie with no hesitation. I have unboxed vintage Barbies with no hesitation. I've unboxed collector Barbies with no hesitation. Like, if y'all have been here before, you know I unbox every single doll. I keep like parts of boxes. I said doxes. I keep parts of boxes from like some of the dolls that have like the nicest packaging. But I unbox everything because I like to have a tactile experience. And just because something is vintage doesn't mean that it is safe for my little grabby hands. I will still unbox it. And even like restyling, like I don't know, I can't remember what like the technical line for vintage is, but like I've unboxed Barbies that are 20 years old and I have washed their hair and I'm not bothered by it. Like that's just part of how I do my collecting anyway. So I understand why for some people that would be like, oh my gosh, this is like a lot to do. But for me, no question, I would rather just get my grubby little hands on that vintage Barbie. Halfway through, so we are on number 8, which is interesting. This is, would you rather have a Dream Barbie collaboration with your favorite celebrity or have Mattel release a doll based on you? And to be honest, I'm not like super into either. Like, it would be cool to have Mattel design a doll based on me. I don't feel like particularly strongly about it. However, I think Broken Dolly TV said this in their video as well. I'm not really like a celebrity person, and that's not to like shade anyone who is. Like I'm not like trying to judge anybody. I just have never been invested in like celebrity culture or following a ton of influencers or like I don't I just feel really disconnected from that. It's not something that I super understand. So like I do have actors and actresses that like I enjoy. I'll like see them in movies or shows and be like, "Oh, cool, it's that person. Like I like what they do." Or musicians that I like their music obviously, but I can't think of anyone that would be like my favorite to the point where I would want a doll of them. So at that point I kind of feel like I have to go with Mattel making a doll based on me, which like I mean, I guess it would be at least cool to say. Like what a fun conversation starter. Like, "Hey, this is a doll. This is my face." So yeah, that's what we would go with. Number 9, the question is, would you rather only be allowed to collect Barbie dolls with fantasy colored hair or only collect dolls with traditional blonde, brunette, and black hair? I'm going fantasy colors all the way. Like, I love dolls. Like there are tons of dolls in my collection that I do love that have more natural hair colors. But fantasy hair is just so fun and it's so interesting. And I feel like, there's so many shades of like black, blonde, brunette, like natural redhead, but there's so many different shades of fantasy hair that you can have. Honestly, like a lot of my dolls, I like the combo. I like when it's like, ooh, black with pink streaks, Dracula, or something like that. But if I had to have only one, I would want to have some fun colors in there. I think that's just more my vibe and my personality. Like I would like both, but obviously that's not the name of the game. So yeah, I'm picking colorful hair. Number 10, would you rather be able to customize and create your own perfect Barbie from scratch or own every single Barbie fashion pack ever released? This is hard. I feel like this is a crazy thing for me to say because I know Barbie has released a truly ungodly amount of fashion packs through the years. Like, I know that. But I think I would pick all the fashion packs. Because as cool as it would be to be able to, like, customize and create my own perfect Barbie, I mean, I kind of can do that to a certain extent. Like I could customize a doll, but the idea of having that many clothes at my disposal, also like with the like particular like way that my brain works, would it be an unbelievably daunting task to sort through every single fashion pack Barbie has ever created? Absolutely, but like also I would kind of love it. Like I do like to sort things and organize things. It does just kind of like give me a sense of satisfaction and enjoyment, and like going through and sorting them all into like the pieces that I like, the pieces that I don't like that maybe I want to like give away to people or sell or whatever. Like even the idea of going through that is actually really fun. I feel like for a lot of people that would be like, "Oh my gosh, this is so tedious." I get it, but for me, I kind of would live for that. And then I would get to have all of these amazing clothes. Yeah, I'd go with the fashion packs. Number 11, would you rather wake up to find that one of your dolls came to life Toy Story style, there we go, or suddenly be able to shrink down and hang out in your Barbie dream house? I'm going to pretend that I have a Barbie dream house. um I God, honestly, neither. Like, I don't want either of these things to happen. I feel like this is supposed to be like the fun would you rather. Because, like, there's two flavors of would you rather, right? There's like, here's two amazing things, you have to pick between them. And then there's, here's two terrible things, you have to pick between them. I think this is supposed to be the first kind where it's like, oh, it'd be so fun to talk to one of your dolls, but it would be so fun to get to live in like this little plastic dream house. For me, these are both off. I feel like the questions that I would have surrounding a doll coming to life about like sentience. Like I feel like I would go a little bit crazy. And also, are they never gonna stop? Or like is this like a tiny human then that I have to take care of forever? That's a lot of pressure. Like I can't I don't want kids because I can't do that. Like I can't do that with a doll either. But then like I have no real desire to shrink down and live in a Barbie dream house. Although like I think realistically speaking, existential horror versus like I just don't really have a desire to do it. I think I would go with shrinking down and hanging out in the dream house. Okay, this next one would have been so easy to answer until just a couple days ago. This is, would you rather find your Holy Grail doll at the thrift store for $5 or win an unlimited shopping spree at the Barbie signature store for 5 minutes? And like a couple days a week ago, whatever the case may be, I'm not 100% sure when this video is going up, I would have easily said I want my Holy Grail doll at a thrift store for $5 because like that's a Holy Grail doll for $5. And my argument would have been, because this is like Barbie specific, it's kind of a little loophole for me because at the time, like that I collected these, that I saw the video and everything, I didn't have anything that I wanted from Barbie on like Mattel Creations or like what a physical store I guess would look like then because it would be like stock from Mattel Creations. But now they released the I'm gonna forget the You Create Barbie Basics kits, and I want all three of them, and that's $300. So now I'm like, would I rather have that, or would I rather find my thrift for $5, or find my Holy Grail for $5? I think I would still go with the Holy Grail for $5 because even though $300 is a lot of money, and it would be great to just like get to have those and not have to pay for them, I just feel like the Holy Grail find would be more emotionally satisfying. Like at some point I will be able to get at least one of those Barbie Basics kits and like that's, we'll go from there. I'll make it happen if it needs to happen, or I might get one and not enjoy it as much. But like a Holy Grail for $5, not only are you like getting a doll that you've wanted forever, but also for so cheap. Like the feeling of just like being victorious is like maybe a good way to put it. I think that would be better than just like being able to unlimited shop Barbie signature. So a little bit harder to answer than I thought this question would be, but I think we're still going the same way. Alrighty, would you rather only be able to buy dolls with amazing articulation but terrible face screenings, or dolls with stunning faces but stiff, unposable bodies? And again, I am kind of an articulation snob, but I think I'm going to go with the stiff bodies and good faces on this one, just because, like, again, as someone who mainly collects dolls for the aesthetic value, for me, the point of the articulation is to be able to, like, pose them and have them look pretty. But that's sort of negated if they all have really ugly faces, right? Like, if you are someone who mainly collects because you like to play with your dolls, or you're like, I was going to say doll photography, but then like a bad face would still be really, really bad. So if you more like to have like dolls as a hangout buddy and you like to have them be posable so you can like pose them wherever you're hanging out, or you like to play with them, I think that maybe having the articulation could be a better benefit than having perfect faces. But like, given that it is more of an aesthetic thing for me, like I look at dolls like an art piece, I cannot I can't answer the bad faces. Like every single doll, I'd have to repaint every single doll. I don't have that in me. We're going stiff bodies, pretty faces. Second to last one here. Would you rather have every doll you own displayed perfectly with unlimited space, or have every single doll accessory ever made but no way to display them? No question, I'd rather have every doll that I currently own displayed perfectly. Like, accessories are cool. I mean, I literally earlier said that I would like to have every single Barbie fashion pack ever made, but every single doll accessory, that's even more. Like, that's so much, and that's even if you're only thinking things like bags, necklaces, earrings, like, that's already so much. But then you get into, like, furniture or even houses or cars might technically be considered accessories. That's crazy, and to have no way to store them, no, that would like, the fashion pack thing is something where I'm like, I know I wouldn't wanna keep everything, but I would have a lot of fun going through it, and then I would have a lot of fun stuff at the end. But all of the accessories and no way to store it, I fear there would be too many that I would want to keep, but, like, no way to deal with them, and so that would just be an anxiety attack. So, yeah, I think I would absolutely rather have just a stunning, beautiful display of what I've currently got. And this last one, this has been the one that I've been waiting for all video because I think my answer is maybe pretty controversial. Would you rather find out Barbie is permanently discontinued after this year or have to get rid of half your collection to keep the brand alive? Barbie's getting the chop. And I feel like at first that sounds really selfish. Okay, so hear me out. It's not okay, it is because I'm not willing to get rid of half my collection. But it's not just that. It is a morbid curiosity because Barbie's been around for so long, like, she's been a staple brand in the doll aisle for so long. I would be very interested to see what would happen if Barbie went under. Like, I would be so curious to see if, like, dolls in general, like, have sort of a fallback and, like, they become less popular, or if another brand surges forward to kind of replace Barbie. Like, I know that it could be bad. Like, I know that eventuality could be not good, but just the morbid curiosity in me I feel like I would have to know, like, I'd be so nosy, and also I don't wanna get rid of half my collection. That is part of it, like, it is partly selfish, but part of it truly is just I'm really curious to see what a world with no more Barbie would look like, what would be the most popular? Would Bratz make, like, an enormous comeback because they don't have Barbie, so they could be sort of the, like, standard doll line? I say standard in the sense that, like, there's not like a huge theme. Like Monster High is obviously very, very thematic, but like Bratz are kind of just everyday girls. Would Bratz then become the next Barbie? And like, what would that look like for Bratz to be produced on such a massive scale like that again? Like, I would have to know. So I know that kind of sounds bad. And I do think that that's pretty controversial because obviously, like, there are a lot of beautiful Barbies. And like, I don't want the brand to go under. That's not what I'm saying at all. But just I'm kind of curious and I would get to keep all my dolls. So that's what I would go with. But yes, guys, those are going to be all of the questions for today. Once again, huge shout out to Broken Dolly TV for doing this and for like listing out all of the questions for other people to use. This was so fun. Like, this was so fun to do and to like ponder because like obviously watching her video, I kind of had some of my answers in mind, but also thinking through them live was like kind of fun to do with you guys. If you want to answer any of these questions in the comments down below, definitely feel free to do so. I always love to hear your opinions. And let me know which question you think was like the hardest. Because like there were definitely some that were super easy for me, but I'd be curious to hear if like those were more difficult for you. And if you have any other like would you rather doll related questions that you would like to ask me and I can do in like a future video, I think that would be super fun as well. So if you have any of those, feel free to drop them as well. But that's going to be it for me for today, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.